Hi, my name is Rachel, and this is my reflection on the assignment for unity and diversity. My awareness of diversity across cultural, racial, ethnic, and linguistic shaped both the structure of this toolkit and the strategies that it includes. Rather than treating diversity as an add on, I approach it as a central design principle. That where students identify or identities influence how they learn, participate, and how they are experiencing school. So the toolkit needed to reflect that reality in practical ways, like designing for flexibility and not a single ideal learner, being able to have multiple ways to allow students to learn, whether it be visually, auditor, auditorily, or hands-on, or maybe it's just discussion-based. There's multiple ways to demonstrate learning, whether it be reading, writing, or creating. And then there's options on individual or collaborative work. Also, centering students' voice and identity is a big one. An appreciation for the cultural and lived experiences led me to include strategies that invite students to connect to their own, connect content to their own backgrounds. It also encourages storytelling, reflection, and perspective. It also has a positions students as contributors to knowledge, not just recipients. It's also moving beyond the structure or the surface level representation. It can include ongoing representation or authentically ongoing representation across the subjects. And then emphasizing deeper cultural elements such as values, histories, or contributions. And then I guess the bottom line for that would be my awareness of diversity shifted the toolkit from a one-size-fits-all model to a responsive framework that values differences as assets. When it comes to reflecting on my own personal beliefs or virtues, it would be that an integration of personal virtues into multicultural education would be empathy, centering around students' experiences. And then that would be prioritizing strategies that allow students to experience the classroom differently based on their background. And then that has such a big impact on decisions. So choosing activities like storytelling and reflection or discussion because it validates the student voice and builds an understanding among peers. Also, respect, creating an inclusive classroom climate. I can ensure all students' identities, names, and perspectives are honored and intentionally address bias or stereotypes when they arise. The impact on that decision would be that I prioritize structured discussions, protocols, and inclusive materials to ensure all of the students feel valued and safe. Also, an openness, which would be incorporating multiple perspectives, like including diverse viewpoints across subjects, and remain willing to adjust my teaching based on the student student input or new learning. And then sharing significant insights or moments of learning that occurred while developing the toolkit would be, I think a big one was realizing that inclusion needs to be intentional, not occasional. Intentionally doing this from an early on, like first of the year kind of idea is super important rather than just doing it on specific times like Black History Month. For example, instead of doing it just for the month, doing it all year round. Inclusion has to be embedded in daily instruction materials and interactions. And the impact would be I shift towards designing lessons where diverse perspectives are the norm and not just an exception. And then moving on from representation to meaningful integration. would be recognizing the difference between simply showing diversity by rather and actually engaging with it in meaningful ways, like prioritizing deeper cultural understanding, like focusing on the histories, perspectives, and contributions rather than the surface level elements. And then finally, I think that the toolkit is a great idea for new teachers who are just coming out of college to, or maybe if it's people who have already had their degree and are pursuing education. I think multicultural or diversity is an important thing that you need to learn as an educator. I think having these toolkits is very helpful and very informational for the people that need some more guidance or info on the topic. This process shifted my mindset on from how do I include diversity to how do I design learning that it naturally reflects and values diversity. That shift has made my approach more intentional, responsive, and grounded in the realities of a diverse classroom. And I really want to mention and add that having multiple ways to communicate with families, such as having multiple ways like texting, phone number to call, or emails, or in-person meetings is important. But also having interpreters available to those families who might need it as well is a very, very, very important to help them feel included. And that is really important.